Coming to this country and learning what suicide is and what mental health is. You know, as African, we tend to downplay those things. Mental health is a thing. I see it every day at work. One story, I came close. Part that maybe you can read it, the part I was molested.
Mama, no one more will ever take your place. I remember you was my hero when I was terror.
One morning, they just woke up everybody very early in the morning. They said, we're gonna go for a walk. As we're walking, I'm having the thought that we went to a poor society. Because me and my brother and Sylvester, we've been in that village for almost 2 months.
At that time?
At that time. Nothing was happening.
And nobody came to you guys to mention poor business to you guys?
Nothing.
So what made you to think that when you were walking that morning, you get into your mind?
Because my father showed up with my other brothers. And we were the oldest boys at that time in the family. I just had that discernment, exactly where we were going. And we walked into the poor society. When we got into the zone, the first thing I heard was yelling and crying. Boys crying. And then tears began to roll down my eyes because I remembered that I was about to go through that pain.
What, were they being tortured or what was going on?
I don't know what was going on.
But you heard them crying?
I heard the cries.
But you experienced that same pain when you cried?
Yes.
What happened?
So I heard the cries and I knew I was about to go through the same thing. And we walked there, they sat us down. And you don't see anybody, it's just us. And I'm just looking around.
But you can hear people crying around you?
I just hear people crying. And then 2 guys came over and grabbed me. And they just took me, it was a little path going down. They took me down there, and then next thing my shirt was off. They held me down.
Wow.
And all I could feel was pain in my body.
Mama, you are the best, I mean the best among the rest. No mother like you, Mama, no one more will ever take your place.
And I could feel the blood coming out of my skin, my back and my chest.
Wow.
I couldn't fight. I just cried.
Because they had you held down. Wow. So this is where the passage, this is where you came from in this chapter. It is in the book. I don't want you to go too far. I want people to actually go there and read this book. So this is actually where you were mentioning when you talk about the rite of passage. I'm sorry, brother, but wow. Now, I noticed that you even talk about the loss when we started the interview. Let me bring you back a little bit. So after the family lost, as mentioned in chapter 3, right? Did each one of your family members find different ways to cope like you did with soccer? Because when you explain somewhere in chapter 3, you talk about the loss, I think the accident you're talking about?
Yes.
Yeah. And I think you said to find a way to cope yourself, soccer was the thing you really used to love to do. How did your other family members do it? And then you're going through this rite of passage. How did the other family member cope?
Honestly, at that time when the accident happened, the rest of the family didn't stay with us. They went back to Liberia. It was only me and my brother Sylvester. We both played football, and football was the only thing that we knew at that time.
And that's what you guys were using to coop, or you and your brother?
For me personally, football was the way of me mourning my brother Louis, and also be able to cope with his loss. The reason was he was my first coach. In the book, I mentioned my very first official football match. He was my coach. He put me in second half, and I managed to score the winning goal.
You try. I am Barra looking for you. Oh, I could find you in Arizona. Yeah.
So, but I'll give you a brief history of my brother. So we didn't live together too long. The short time we spent together, I still have his memory. On that day, it was on a Saturday evening in Zerikuri. Before the game, he shaved my hair. Um, he did a very horrible job.
He
Right?
shaved your
He
hair?
shaved my hair, and he had so on my hair
What did he shave it with?
with razor blade.
Oh my God.
And then he put alcohol on my head. Oh man, that thing hurt me. It hurt. So we went to play because he was one of the best players in the whole city of Zurich. The school he played for, he was the captain. And if he didn't play for his team, the team would not play. He has the natural talent. So he was my first coach. When he passed away, I used soccer to remember him. So it was my way of telling him that he's not gone, he's with me. And football,
He used to play soccer too?
like I said, he was one of the best players in the city. And in the book, I also mentioned other times where I was living with a different family, and football was the only way that I survived.
Wow. Yes, people, look, this book, remember this book. You will love it. This is the shortest, sweetest book I ever read. Normally, I will read book for months before I can finish it. Even as little as it is. It will take me months. But this one, it grabbed my attention. Everybody that read it, everybody that took the copy from me and said, look, read this book, they thought I was joking. But when they got this book in their hand, women can read faster. My wife, she read it, I think, less than 1 hour. She started telling my daughters about it. My workmate, I was at work while I was trying to read the book and grab some questions. She said, I said, look, this book is interesting. I just told her 2 minutes, but she said, oh, let me see the book. She ended up reading the book for her whole lunch, came back the next day, and looked, 4 women on my team have already read the book. The reason why I don't want you to go too much into the book, because if we sell this book here on camera, you're not going to go buy it. So there are some details we're leaving out because we want you to grab it and read it and feel it for yourself. Now, Mr. Gibson, when did you know you wanted to be a writer?
That's a very interesting question. So I grew up reading. Right? I love to read. I have a lot of books. I love to read interesting stories. I love to learn about new things. When I decided to write this book, it was during the COVID.
So you were here?
I wrote this book here.
Oh.
It took me a long time to write.
This is your first book, right?
This is my first book.
Got you.
It took me 2 years to write because I was talking about myself. I feel that it was difficult to write about me. So it took me 2 years to put the story together. But I have always had the idea that one day I want to tell my story. My story is unique to me.
Of what you went through.
What I went through.
Till you came to the United States.
My experiences. So, there are things that I went through beside the hardship. There was also some.
Yeah. Keep that part right there because I want people to grab this book here.
So
I read some of the things in there. And this is why I'm coming. But go ahead. I read some of the things in there, especially in the United States, where you talk about job promotion and job placement.
Right.
You remember that, right?
Yes, I remember that part.
Where they were playing the Raise the Sky with you sometimes.
Yes.
In this book, people grab this book. Very interesting book. Can you elaborate? Just I don't want you to go too much into details now because I want people to read this book. Where you said some of the jobs you wanted to get, they took that. They didn't give you that position, but they give it to other people. You remember?
I do. I remember, And so before I get to that, right, there's a saying that every disappointment, it's a blessing or it's an opportunity. When one door closes, another door opens. I'm grateful to what I do today as a police officer in the city of Phoenix. I was working as a social worker for the Department of Economic Security with Division of Developmental Disabilities.
In Arizona.
In Arizona. I worked there for 5.5 years. While working there, I acquired a master's degree in public administration. I thought by getting the degree, I would be promoted to a higher position. But I did manage to obtain a promotion as an assistant supervisor. And then my supervisor decided to retire.
So you wanted that position?
So I didn't want the position. My team came and told me, we don't want no other supervisor. We want you to apply for this position. One, you know the client, you know the area. We all work together. We like the way you work. We like your leadership. Because I was acting supervisor when my supervisor retired. It took about 3 to 6 months before they hired a new person. So I was acting supervisor. And then I applied for the position.
And then
sadly enough, I did not even get called
for an interview.
For the interview.
Wow. Let's start right there. And listen, you will find the rest of this story in this book. The reason why I'm telling, I don't want him to go into it, because it is interesting. Especially so, me from an African background, Liberia, West Africa. When I started to read a book about a child living between two African countries, two West African countries, Liberia and Guinea. When I started to read about some of the experiences he had, even though I did not make it to the poor society, but I have friends, I have family members who went there. And there are some other things that he explained in his book. Memories started to come back on me. Now, Mr. Gibson, we are winding down to the end of this interview before I can give you at least a minute or two to close. In the whole book, I noticed in every chapter of this book, you mention different types of hardship. But I continue to notice that your faith in God was never shaken. Why?
Mommy, you come first in everything I do on earth. Mama, you are the best. I mean the best among the rest. No mother like you, Mama. No woman will ever take your place. I remember you was my hero when I was zero.
Because every chapter I read, when you read this book, every chapter that you touch, you read, you turn, he's mentioning something, painful things, something that he experienced up to the end of this book. But what I noticed, even though he mentioned something about a faith in God, but nothing in that book that said that this thing took me away from God. Why? Because some people, when they're going through too much of a hardship, now they'll put a hand, all kinds of things there. Some of them go join witchcraft business, especially in Africa. And all kinds of things. But you are still focused on it. Why? Can you let us know? So some maybe Christians will be watching here who have failed before and became prodigal son and came back, so they can know what kept your faith, man. Yeah.
So I grew up, and I like to say this to people, that I raised myself with the help of my older brother Sylvester. There was a lot that happened. So I knew that I did not do everything alone. My brother was there physically. I could see him. I could see what he was doing. If you remember, I said earlier that I grew up with the power of discernment. I have always felt that God has his hands over me. Um, so because some of the experiences that I went through, I came very, very close to ending it.
Yeah, I mean, when you read the book, you
You
see,
know,
you feel what he's talking
so
about.
my faith in God never wavered. I grew up Catholic. We used to walk to go to Catholic church in Zerikore. If you are Catholic, you should know that the Catholic don't have too many branches or buildings. In the whole state of Zerikore, I remember only 2 branches, and I live far away from each of them. Every Sunday, I made it a duty to go to church to worship, knowing that there is God who created all of us, knowing that He knows my struggles. I held on Him. He held on to me. I did not know that my story was going to end in a positive way, I'll be honest. But I always had that faith that God is all knowing. And the way my story would end, God knows how. So I never one day lost faith. I never one day turned on my back on God. I knew He was always with me. I will tell you a story. When we were leaving Liberia to go to Zerikore during the war, uh, man, we traveled in the school bus, and were escorted by a rebel leader. Okay,
Where's his name?
I don't know his name.
You're a little child.
Right, and the deal was between him and the driver. So, and I will tell this story. We got to a checkpoint where a different rebel group was controlling, and this rebel leader that was escorting us had a beef with one of the rebel leaders at that checkpoint. He had killed his brother. Now, this rebel leader who was at the checkpoint grabbed an RPG, if you know what that is,
Rocket prepared grenade. That's the shot for RPG. It
and
was one of those launchers.
launched him. I'm sitting at the window in the back. I could see them moving, all the movement. I couldn't hear what they were saying because of the window, but I could see everything. This rebel took 2, 3 steps back.
And I'm sorry to interject. Which control era are we talking about? Charles Taylor time, Prince Johnson side. Whose side was that now?
I was young.
Okay,
It was
which side of the border you guys were on?
I believe we went through
County.
the Ivory Coast side.
So that was Charles Taylor control side. What year was that? You remember?
I do not know the year.
Continue the story.
This guy took 3 steps behind, and this part I heard it. He said, "BBC will carry this news," and I heard a click on the launcher.
Stop right there. People, it's in the book, right?
It is in the book.
It is in the book.
It's in the book.
The rebel took a rocket prepared grenade launcher. Listen, when I got to that part, I held my breath. Because I was like, how can human being be so wicked? But Mr. Gibson, you did a nice job. This book right here, we're going to get all the, just tell the people where they can find the book, how they can buy the book, and let's direct people to that book because we want people to buy this book.
You can find the book on Amazon. It's on Barnes and Nobles. It's on Instant. There's a book platform called Draft to Digital. The book is there. When we publish the book, we put it on all online platforms. It's in audio format, hard copies and soft copies, soft covered. You can order your copy. You just put Under Darkened Skies, and look for this color
Yep.
or the author,
Grab the other one.
the person's name on the book, the pen name,
Pen name, the decoy name for the man.
the decoy name at
Steven Rollins.
Stephen Rollins.
That's the decoy. This is how the book look. Look how small it is. You read it in 45 minutes because the story is so interesting. Very, very interesting. I'm not lying to you. You want to grab a copy of this book. This book will go down in history as one of the smallest selling book. Our own Liberian brother. Well, yeah, he's private or in the police or what? Sergeant?
No, I'm just an officer for now.
So we got Officer Flomo Gibson. Our own Liberian brother, but I put him here now. So anyone leave, I gotta be careful. Make us be a whole one. Go also so you can follow me. Police Felix PD, police officer. This is a very interesting book. As you notice, I don't want him to go too details into what we're going to say on this interview because I want you to actually read it for yourself. Make sure you leave a comment. If you want a second interview about anything you did not understand in this book, put the comment there, request a second interview, and I'll get him back to come and you will explain exactly what you did not understand. Brother Gibson, Officer Gibson,
yes.
I'm going to give you a minute or two so you can do your closing statement because I swear, you continue to talk about the book, we're not going to move from here today. So I'm going to give you a minute or two so you can, do your closing statement so we can call your day here.
Thank you. Once again, thank you for this interview. I feel humbled to sit before you as a member of the Caribbean community in Arizona. The great work that you do for us. This book is my story. It's unique. It's very important to me. Part of the reason why I wrote this book is I know we're here to sell the book, but relationship with our families is important. Okay? Especially with our parents. I lost that.
Wow.
And that's that. I don't have it with my dad or my mom.
Are they here in the United States?
No. My dad used to come and go. And now he's stationed in Liberia.
Okay.
Because sometimes I feel like growing up, I needed them. I needed them so much to be there. That didn't happen. But nevertheless, people took their spot. Again, that's where my faith in God remained. Because people I didn't know, I never met, they became my father. They became my mother. As a family, it's important to have relationships with our siblings and especially our parents. My brother Sylvester did not give up on me. That guy sacrificed everything. I'm here. Number one, God. Number two, him. Number three, I held on to football and education. I owed him everything, Sylvester. I know I keep talking about him, but I do. If you read the book, you understand why I hold this man. The part I was going to talk about, coming to this country and learning what suicide is and what mental health is. As African, we tend to downplay those things. Mental health is a thing. I see it every day at work. Suicide, I see it every day. People kill themselves. And when I go through my own story, I came close. The question Mr. Bully left out was the part that maybe you can read it, the part I was molested.
Well, I did not want to bring that question
Because
out
yes, I understand that.
because I want people to go and see.
They're gonna read it, but I just wanted to mention it. I was sexually abused, sexually assaulted, and that took me to the dark path where I was gonna end it. This is over 20 something years. It feels like it was yesterday. I felt that when I put these things on book, I'll be able to make time with that, to make peace with those paths. I didn't talk to my father for over 6 years. I may not be the only one, but because of all those things that happened. Thank you, Mr. Bully. Thank you for affording me this opportunity to share my story. The rest of it is in the book. Please support. We need your support. This is just the beginning. We have a lot coming, but let us support each other. And the book is available on Amazon. If you want me to sign, you got a copy. I will make myself available. If you are local, I will come to you and I will sign your copy. Thank you so much for watching this interview.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Gibson, for granting Bola TV this interview. Mr. Gibson, sometimes it takes a man to say your story. I know you are right. I left out some questions because I wanted people to come and see what's actually in the book. Notwithstanding, look, this is our own brother here. I mean, he put his everything into this book, this little book that you see here. Let me show it to you people. This book, when you read this book, you will see why they say men from Africa are strong. This boy went through a lot to make it to where he is today as a Phoenix police officer. Most people will not even go through the things that are rare in this book. Support our brother. Bola TV, when I say I'm going to shine positive spotlight on this community in Arizona, on census and on court, this is one part of it there. You ain't see nothing here. We will bring the news to you on census and on court. We will bring stories like this to you. Things that we go through in Africa sometimes. Things that we go through even here when we get here. The ball came on a dark road all the way here. When you read this book, my people, go grab your copy. If you don't believe me, grab your copy. How much is this book, the hard copy like this? How much is it on Amazon?
Amazon is selling it for $12.99.
$12.99. Yes. And the audio is how much?
The audio is $2.99.
$2.99.
Yes.
$12.99. $12.99 on Amazon. I'm going to put the link in this video where you can just click on it. When you go in the description center of this interview, the link to purchase this book is going to be in there. You just click on it, it takes you straight to where the book is. $12.99. Go read your brother's story. I know a lot of you have similar story or even worse story than what he put in here. Bola TV is your place. Come. I will shine out light. I will give you your camera time so you can talk your story. Mr. Gibson, once again, I would like to say thank you so much for inviting Bola TV and granting me the very first opportunity for you to speak to us live on camera and to show your book to these people so the outside world can know what people go through too. This has been the Bola TV production. It was nice hanging out with you guys today. Enjoy your day.
Everything I do on earth, Mama, you are the best. I mean the best among the rest. No mother like you, Mama. No one will ever when